Why all mechanics and DIYers don't know how to change oil properly? Well, you're about to find out. It's going to be pretty unbelievable. Unfortunately for most, it's all about the bottom dollar. And you can see here we have a lot of blow-by taking place. Or is it that they're waiting way too long to change the motor oil under bad circumstances? I completely understand. Mechanics have to make money. After all, it's a business. But I can verify all the information given. The first problem, speed. If it's all about money, then they want to be able to get people out of their shops as fast as possible, especially these lube shops. In doing so, most of the time, you'll see a small stream of oil coming out. While it might not seem like much, then they'll replace the plug back in the oil pan. Once they do this, they've left half of a quart of oil. Guess what? Now they don't have to pay for that extra half of a quart. And maybe they're not doing it so with bad intentions. As I said, sometimes it's all about making the bottom dollar. Then it goes much further than this. I've seen people even state to use a specific oil that's manufactured specifically for their vehicle, recommended by the vehicle manufacturer. And the customer stated, I do not care what the extra cost is. They will pay whatever it is. This is the specific oil they want used. But that didn't seem to really matter when it come to the mechanic shop. They would use whatever they seem fit, or whatever's the least costly, should I say, to make the most money that they can. I'm not saying they're all bad. Absolutely not. Sometimes the intentions are the best, but good intentions aren't enough. And you'll notice just about every shop I've ever seen uses dirty old rags or towels with grease and oil, and that alone wouldn't be an issue. But then the sand particles and dirt particles stick to this grease. They'll use this same towel to wipe off the dipstick or anything else, leaving the particles of sand and debris on the dipstick and around the oil fill hole. This would cause this debris to get inside your engine and cause damage. And I've even heard people say, well, it would be filtered out. It could be filtered out, but when you're placing that dipstick back in there, it's going straight into the oil pan, and guess what? This could go straight to the crankshaft from there, and that can be a lot of damage. And we can go much further than this. That's just the tip of the iceberg. These dealerships and their so-called free oil changes, well, the ones that you paid for when you bought the vehicle. And when you go in to have your vehicle serviced, the vehicle says change the oil possibly at 7,500 miles in your owner's manual, maybe 10,000 depending on the vehicle. But if you'll look a little closer, it has severe driving conditions. And these severe driving conditions apply to almost everyone. For example, if you live in an area with hills, valleys, mountains, well, that right there alone would qualify you for extreme driving conditions. This would cut the time you need to change the motor oil in half. Next up, if you drive many short distance trips, and granted, these are 10-minute trips or less, and it also depends on the temperature. So take that information and realize this is different for all vehicles. So they're pretty well going around the same principle. But there's many other things, such as if you're driving in heavy city traffic on a regular basis, this would be another thing. Or a dusty area. I mean, the list goes on and on. And unfortunately, the oil is not the only change you would need to make more often. There are some small things you can do as your engine starts to age, gain more wear. You can actually start the vehicle up, and before you decide to take off, as soon as it starts up, especially in the colder temperatures, you want to allow the engine a few minutes to warm up. Granted, you may be perfectly fine, but the colder it is, the more oil pressure that you will have. And while oil pressure is a good thing, you don't want it to be exceeding a specific amount, especially as these seals age, wear. This is why seals harden over time, and high mileage oil provides many benefits to prevent this problem with seal conditioners to keep them from hardening and cracking, making the seals more supple. I will say that almost all motor oils do contain seal conditioners to protect the seals, but when it comes to high mileage motor oils, they contain a much higher amount. And you would not believe the amount of people that still follow along with not using a synthetic oil. They believe in the old myths of it causing leaks on older engines. And there's a lot that can be said about that, but you need to use whatever's best for your vehicle. And synthetic is definitely, by far, the better choice. In the past, yes, it gained some terrible myths. When using these oils, the seals and the oil itself with ester could cause leaks, but this was a long time ago. This was when there was changes that were soon to be made thereafter. Which brings me to another problem. Sometimes it's not just a mechanic using the cheapest oil they have. There's been many shops caught using the wrong viscosity motor oils, and even oils that were made for vehicles before 1920. That's correct. You can look that up for yourself. It's not hard to find. It's all over the place. There's a lot of scams happening. You don't want to be part of it. As I said, it may not necessarily be bad intentions, but good intentions alone is not enough. If there's any tips you can provide to help someone out, I'd greatly appreciate it. Guys, thanks for watching Nate's Interactive Auto.